Hey there, and welcome back to the Online Startup Summit, where you're going to discover everything you need to know about starting an online business from the ground up. I'm your host, Charlie Weedle, and I'm so excited to introduce you to today's speaker and expert, Brian Basilico. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me, Charlie, man. It's a blast. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, it's such a pleasure to have you. So I brought Brian into this summit because he is an award-winning, internationally recognized author and speaker. He's the founder and president of B2B Interactive Marketing, an award-winning marketing consulting and production company in Aurora, Illinois. Brian is also an adjunct professor, trainer, speaker, and author of many marketing and social networking blogs and articles. And he is the host of the popular The Bacon Podcast, which is a twice weekly show that includes tips and tricks and guest expert interviews on all things related to internet marketing. So Brian, I would love for you to tell these awesome people watching this right now, just a little bit of background about yourself.
Sure. Well, I started my first business a long time ago. It was 40 years, believe it or not. And I was 18, so now you know how old I am. And I started a recording studio in my dad's basement. And the interesting thing about that was I really wasn't into business. I was into my passion. But I knew in order to keep that passion alive, because I needed to buy gear, I needed to buy supplies, I needed to buy tape, I had to make money, right? You know, you can have a passion, but if you're not making any money, sooner or later you're going to go broke. So I had to figure out, how do I communicate with my clients? How do I communicate with people so that they would stay interested, they'd remember me, and they'd come back? Well, there was a challenge back then in 1978, 79. There was no internet. There was no email. There were no websites. There was no Facebook. There was no nothing, right? So, what do you do? So what I did, at the time, I had an Atari 400 computer. Some of you may remember that. Some of you may not. Commodore 64, whatever. It was before PCs came out. And I was able to type up little articles and stories. And I would take those and I would literally physically cut them out and put them on an 11 by 17 sheet of paper and lay them out kind of like a little newsletter, and had a header and a graphic and all that stuff. Folded it over, took it to a printer, and mailed it out to all of my clients. And that's the way that I communicate with them. That was content marketing before the internet showed up. Now, fast forward to 2001, when I left my last corporate gig, working for Arthur Andersen. During that time frame, I had different iterations. I worked for AT&T, opened a commercial recording studio, worked for Arthur Andersen, ad agencies, all kinds of stuff across the time. But excuse me, the last time I decided to do this, which has now been 17 years, 18 years, I started this business. Again, the internet was here. We had email and stuff like that. But what I started doing was business card CDs. And those business card CDs were basically videos that fit on a CD the size of a business card that you could stick in a computer. Well, that was really cool for a number of years until, of course, now we have computers that have no CDs, right? And nobody wants to watch video off of a CD because you can go to YouTube, right? And so the point of the whole story is that you have to work with what you have based on where the marketplace is, and do the kind of things that you need to do to A, make money, but B, promote your business and stay current with what's going on. So that's essentially the journey that I went through.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's quite the journey. And I also can kind of relate to the music, or as far as the recording studio, because that music is a big part of my background. And I actually moved to Los Angeles to do producing and writing music.
Oh, cool.
And so I sort of had my own little home studio, but it wasn't making me any money, So
Yeah.
I taught myself how to do web design, and that turned into my business. So You got
I'm
to
with
go
you,
where the
man.
money is. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I started the recording studio because I was a musician, and then I opened a commercial recording studio where I still got to do some music, but I mean, we were doing, like radio commercials. I was doing audio for McDonald's Corp. We were doing all of their phone system audio, translations for Motorola. I mean, we did some really heavy duty stuff, and I ended up selling that company years later. But yeah, no, I hear you, man. It's cool to follow your passion, but sooner
Yeah.
or later, if your passion ain't paying the bills,
Yeah.
you tend to kind of lose the luster a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I actually realized, like, once I once I started to want to make money doing my passion, I realized that it wasn't going to be my passion anymore, that it was going to be a job, and that I felt like I would lose my passion for it. And so I
Right.
decided for it to be more of a hobby of mine, because that's something that will always stay a passion.
Yeah.
So
And you can always make some good money on a side hustle too. I mean, I gigged, man, I was in a beer band for 15 years until about 3 years ago. And, we'd make $300,000, $500,000 a night, playing gigs for private parties. So I was still able to do what I loved and run a business at the same time, so
mhm,
it just helps to know what a business is, how it works, and what's important. So, and I'm
mhm.
sure we'll talk about some of that stuff as we move forward.
Definitely, definitely. I would love to know what inspired you to kind of take the leap into starting your own business.
I just got tired of playing in the sandbox. I didn't play well in the corporate sandbox, and I realized that you, I had to figure out really what my passion was at the time. And what I find, I always ask this question of people that I interview on my show, or people that I meet. Met a guy today at a Panera, and the same thing. The first question I asked him, I said, "What's your superpower?" And he looked at me. It's like, well, my superpower is blah 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 blah. I said, "No, dude, you can't fit that on a T-shirt. It doesn't look like an S for Superman. What is your superpower?" And he couldn't come up with it. And I figured out that my superpower at the time was teaching, training and doing things like that. So that's really what inspired me, is the thing that I do the best. You said I'm an adjunct professor. I mean, that's cool. That doesn't make a lot of money, but coaching clients, doing, writing books and all that kind of stuff is, what I love to do, creating courses, working with companies and helping them to figure out, where they have deficits in their marketing, where they can do it better and stuff like that. So, that's really what inspired me, was figuring out, what is my superpower, and that's what did it.
Yes. Yeah, I can agree with you on that. Even though I had a passion of music and performance, what I actually found through when I went into my web design business was that I actually really had a passion for helping people, or teaching people how to uh, run and manage their own website, and even
Hmm.
designing their own website. And that was like super empowering for me, that I got to empower these other people
Right.
in their own business. And so that has become my biggest passion as of now. Who knows if that's going to change in the future, but yeah, I can totally relate to that, that sometimes passions change and
Right.
it can be part of your business. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I guarantee it'll change. There's no question. It's just what it's going to look like in 5 years, 10 years, who knows,
Right, right.
that's technology changes that aren't fast.
Yeah. So I would love to talk, since you do a lot about marketing and sales and things like that. What would you say is the best method for someone who's just starting out their
Hmm.
business to focus on for marketing? Like what avenue? I mean, there's so many avenues out there to do for marketing. What would you recommend?
Yeah, well, okay, so first and foremost, you have to figure out so I've got a formula. I've got lots of formulas, but there's one particular formula that's uber important. And that is, the first thing you have to identify is, what is your brand and what makes you different. That's the key, because everybody has a mousetrap, and everybody says they have the perfect mousetrap. What makes you different? What can you do that somebody else can't do? Or if you're doing it the way that everybody else does, what would make you stand out? So the first thing I want everybody to understand is, I don't care what business you're in, it doesn't matter. You are in the relationship business, period, amen. Your job is to create relationships with people and solve their problems, okay? We don't sell anything. What we do is we provide solutions. Now, I don't care if you make jewelry and sell it on Etsy. Your solution is you're helping somebody feel better about themselves and feel pretty. I don't care if you design websites. What you're doing is you're providing a platform for somebody to be able to get their message out to the world. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You're in the relationship business, and you don't sell anything. You create solutions to problems. That's essentially what you do. So once you identify what makes you different and what solution you have, now you've got to formulate that message. And the key question is, how do you develop that message, and then how do you deliver that message? The way that you develop the message is pretty straightforward. The first thing I would tell everybody to do is get out and network. That means go to meetup.com, go join a BNI, go do something. I mean, BNI is expensive. You know, most meetups are free. You can go out and do that. But the bottom line is go out and listen to other people. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we shut up and listen twice as much as we talk, right? So the thing that you've got to do is you've got to listen to other people. You've got to find out, what are they saying that resonates with you? What is it that makes people stand out when they stand up and give an elevator speech, or somebody that presents in one of those groups? You know, what inspires you? What is resonating with you? And there's nothing wrong with copying that. You know, and I know that there's only 12 notes on a keyboard, right? But those 12 notes, depending on how you play those notes, can make completely different music. Everything from jazz to rap to rock to whatever you want. But it's all still the same 12 notes. It's just how the musician plays it. So that's the key. So how can you take what you learn by listening to other people and networking and turn that into a message that resonates like lyrics to a song, or like a hook in a chorus, or something along that lines that people will remember and hold on to and say exactly what you do? So I can tell you exactly what I do. Is I'm Brian Basilico with B2B Interactive Marketing, and I show you why, and I teach you how. That's my walk away when I go into networking, so people understand the difference. Is I could be called a coach, I could be called a marketing expert, I can be called a guru, I can be called all those other things, but I don't want them to remember that. I want them to remember I show them why and teach them how. And that's the key. So that's step number 1.
That's great. I love that. And yeah, it's so right about relationships. I mean, when you're reaching out to new clients and new customers, or how, you know, it's so important that the relationship is solid, and that you know how to speak to them, and you build that relationship. Because, you know, really having clients and customers is sort of like dating. You know, you have to build a relationship with them, and
right.
You know, you don't want it to be a one-night stand. You want to build a long-lasting relationship.
Right. Exactly. And it happens, I mean, I say that all the time on LinkedIn. If anybody's on LinkedIn, it's like Tinder for business. And the reason I call it Tinder for business is because people swipe profiles and they look at the profile and say, ooh, that's a pretty profile. You know, ooh, that resonates with me, or no, that's blah. You know, picture's bad, no background. The message says CEO, president, or something along those lines. And what happens also on there, it's a lot like Tinder, because you'll get a message from somebody and they'll say, hey, you don't know me, but I've got the greatest thing since buttered bread. And you know, you want to buy from me. So here's my half-hour video. Go watch my video, and then let's schedule a call, and let me give you another half-hour sales pitch so that you buy from me. I don't know them from Adam, and I'll send them a graphic, and it's from How I Met Your Mother. All right, and it's a picture of Neil Patrick Harris and J-Lo in a bar. And I put a little note on there that says, would you walk into a bar and ask somebody to marry you? And that's the way that people treat it on LinkedIn. It's like they go in, they tap you on the shoulder and said, would you marry me? Would you do business with me? Would you invest hours of time listening to my pitch? And you know what the answer is no.
Yeah.
You know, that's not how you build a relationship. That's why I say when you go into a networking meeting, your job is not there to be there talking about yourself. Your job is there to listen. That's the whole point. If somebody asks you, tell them what you do, but focus more on what they do. How can you help them? What can you do to further your relationship by giving value to them? That's the key
thing. Yeah. Yeah, it's all about giving, 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 giving.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Love that.
Yep.
Yeah. I would love if you could speak a little bit about email marketing. I know that that's a lot of people don't know the value of having an email list.
Well, yeah.
Maybe you could
Well, let me speak to email marketing, but let me start off with why you want to have an email list. First and foremost, you want to have an email list is because you want to have an audience that wants to hear from you and that it's something that you provide value to. You can get, it's the same thing with dating, as we talked about, we went down that road. It's like you can collect names like, business cards. I mean, I can go to a networking event and I get 100 of these business cards. Now, if you do network, okay, everybody has a pile of 300 these on their desk, right? Now, most people will get these cards and not do anything with them. But on every single one, there's an email address. If you get a business card and you put somebody on an email list and you just automatically start sending them stuff without asking their permission and finding out that they want to hear from you, what are they going to do? They're going to unsubscribe, right? And also, they're going to have a pretty bad impression of who you are and your business practices. So the core thing is in building an email list, you're trying to build a list of people that want to follow you. Building an email list is no different than getting a whole bunch of Instagram followers, getting Facebook likes, getting all that other stuff. It's all about, people that want to hear from you. So why would people want to hear from you? Because you have something to say, right? Something that's of value to them. So before you even start going down the email road, you have to have something of substance to say. Now, this is where you come into the mix, Charlie. The most important thing that I think every business should have is you should have a personally branded website, period, amen. The reason that you want a website is because the website becomes a hub that you own. You own the domain name, you own the hosting, you own everything. And that hub is the place where you build an email list from. Now, some people say, well, use ClickFunnels or use social media to do this. And all of those things are great. But the problem is you use social media, you don't own it. You don't own anything with social media. And I've seen companies build up to $100 million and Facebook shuts down their business account and they go bankrupt overnight and had to let 100 people go. From $100 million to nothing in one day. Because you don't own social media, all right? But what you do own is the relationships if you get permission, because I can put these people on a list, but if they don't want to hear from me, that's useless because they'll unsubscribe. So the key thing is having a good website that basically builds the brand that we talked about, that says, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is why I'm different, and this is why you want to pay attention to me. Now, with that website, can you fill it up with some content that is valuable? What could that content be? Well, it could be a blog. It could be a podcast. It could be graphics. You could be a graphic designer. It could be quotes. It could be ebooks. It could be anything. If you have good content on there and you're doing something on a regular basis, then getting somebody's email, basically, they're giving you permission to say, send me what you've done this week or today, so that I can stay in tune with the cool stuff that you're doing so I can learn something and get some value from it. So once you have a good website, you're creating great content. Now you can use an email program to gather names and deliver content to people's inbox, which by far is still the most profitable and easy way to do things. You think you can do it on text? People don't like text message marketing. And the reason they don't is because A, they have to pay for it, and B, it's too short. It doesn't give them anything. And if they're on their phone, they're going to click through to a web page and stuff like that. You can't deliver enough content in there. With email marketing, you can. You can put a little sub-story. You can put a graphic. You can do something that's going to give them some value. If they decide to click through and go to the website and the content, great. If they don't, you can still get the core message across in that email. So using your website as a home base to collect names of people that want to get the content that you're creating on a regular basis is really the cornerstone. There's one little hidden piece involved in it, and that little hidden piece is known as Google Analytics. Okay. Now, I'm sure you know a lot about Google Analytics, but a lot of people out there don't. Okay. One of the things I'm going to tell all of your audience about that is uber important, and that is you cannot run a business without understanding your numbers. All right? Here's the bottom line. If you take in $1 and you spend $3, how long are you going to stay in business? Answer the question, Charlie.
Probably a little bit longer.
Okay, right. You make $1, you spend $3. You're not going to go very far, right?
Right.
It'll die pretty quick, all right?
Yeah.
But if you spend $1 and you make $3 from that dollar that you spend, now all of a sudden you've got a business because you've got something called profit, right?
Totally.
So when you understand profit and loss, when you understand your numbers, I recommend that either you make enough money to afford a good bookkeeper and talk to them every single month. Don't wait until the end of the year to do your taxes, or you get your butt on and learn how to use QuickBooks. So you understand what's coming in, what's going out, where you're spending it, what are the trends and all that other stuff. Now you got a business, all right? Odd concept of business is you got to take in more money than you spend. Otherwise, it's not a business. It's a really cool hobby. It's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So Google Analytics is basically QuickBooks for your content marketing and your website. What Google Analytics tells you is that your website is getting hits and what people are getting too. So is it the blog? Is it the podcast? Is it the graphic? How often are people getting there? How long are they staying on your website? Where are they coming from? I don't care if you get 10 visitors to come to your website, if those 10 visitors come and pay you money, because I can get you 1 million visitors today. They're all from India. They ain't going to buy anything from you. So you need to understand what that traffic is and why it's important. Those 3 things combined is in my book called The Bacon System, and it's called the marketing trifecta. The marketing trifecta is A, having a killer website, B, understanding Google Analytics, C, using content marketing to drive traffic to the website. So from there, you can collect those names, provide the content, and build the business up from there. So does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah, that's super powerful. That's amazing. Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Wow, God, there's so many things we could talk about. But running a little short on time, I would love to know one thing that you wish you knew when you first started that you now know.
The one thing that I wish I knew then was that every doctor needs a doctor, every mentor needs a mentor, and every coach needs a coach. So here's the bottom line. If you can afford to pay a coach, find a really good coach and pay for it, because a coach will help you get to where you want to be faster. They've gone through the problems that you're going to face. I have a coach right now. I talk to her every 2 weeks, and she basically sets my mind straight. She slaps me upside the head when I need slapping. She tells me you're being stupid. You're doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So if you can't find if you can't afford a coach, get a mentor. And the bottom line is, if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You always have to be learning from people. Always be learning. Always invest in yourself. So the second piece to that puzzle is be willing to invest in yourself, because this is the one thing in your business that will give you the biggest payback. So go to seminars, go to webinars. If you can afford to go to conferences, go to conferences. If you can get a coach, get a coach. But the bottom line is always be learning, because there is so much to know. And that's why people are here to learn from you, to learn from me, because this is going to propel them forward. And that's the best thing I could tell everybody. I kind of inherently knew that, but I really didn't embrace it till probably about 10 years ago, really strong.
And then did that shift your business a lot when you did that?
Way up. Yeah, way up. Transformed it.
Yeah. I can say the same thing for me as well. Like I knew that I probably should be doing that, or that there were a lot of things I could learn, but it wasn't until I actually put money down and started actually really investing in the, you know, in the trainings, the webinars, the coaching, all of that, that it really like took it to that next level. And
Exactly. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
it'll pay back. It'll pay you back as long as you get the right coach and the right stuff. Don't go down the bright shiny object thing, you
Yeah.
know, because everybody's going to sell you, hey, get rich quick. You know, here I'm going to give you a tip. All right, I'm going to show you how to make $1 million on Facebook tonight. All right. All you've got to do is go on Facebook and say, the first 1 million people that send me $1, I'm going to send you my brand new book, which hasn't been written yet, How to Make $1 Million on Facebook. Right? That's what a lot of people sell. They sell magic tricks.
Mm-hmm.
That's not foundational. That's not principles. The principles never change. I started this whole thing off by talking about in 1979, creating content before the internet. Those principles that I talked about still work today. They just happen to come across in emails, in websites, in podcasts. It's content. It's the same thing. So make sure you're learning from people that are going to provide value that help you grow your business and aren't just going to suck you dry.
It's amazing. That's such incredible content and such good advice. Yeah. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So last thing, what powerful tool could you provide right now that could kind of get people started off on the right path to getting a really successful online business started?
Okay, I'm going to give you a tool, and then I have a free gift. Okay, so the one tool that I strongly recommend is Evernote. And the reason I like Evernote is because it allows you to capture your ideas and put it in a place that you can have everywhere. Okay, I was at a meeting today, and I've got my iWatch. Okay, and I've got Evernote on my iWatch, and the guy said something, and I said, hold on 1 second. I hit my button, and I hit record, and I recorded that note. So when I came back to my office, it was sitting in Evernote so I could remember what it was. I've woken up in the middle of the night and had great ideas and done that. I'm walking the dog. I've had the same thing. I could be at a meeting. I could pull up Evernote and I could type in things. I do every single outline for my book on there. I do all of the notes for my clients on there. I do my coaching clients. I actually create Evernotes and I share those notebooks so that we can both put stuff in and do things. It is one of the most powerful tools out there. You can get it free, but I recommend that you pay for the $69, because if for $69 a year, you can take a business card, take a picture of this, and it'll actually scan all that content and put the contact in your Evernote and into your address book for you. And so now it actually converts the business card into a contact. Now I can take this thing, which I scanned today, and it's going in the garbage because I don't need it anymore. I got a picture of it. I've got the information already entered, and I don't have to type it. And it's the greatest thing in the world. Now, if people want to learn about this, and I'm not trying to, pimp it out, but I do have a course on. It's called Evernote for Business. People want to go check that out. They can go check it out, and it lays out all of those things. But get Evernote, start using the free version. Upgrade to the $69 version when you feel like you're ready, and then if you want some training on it, you can either come to me or to you or whatever. But there's lots of stuff out there, but it's a great tool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I used it a couple of times and never got really into it, but I'm gonna have to take a look at that again. And I didn't even know it had that feature.
Oh yeah, a lot of people don't. Yeah, it's a great tool. It's very cool. So then on the freemium that I'm going to give your audience for free, it's my perfect marketing strategy. You just go to perfectmarketingstrategy.com. And from there, you'll be able to download a bunch of worksheets, and there's some audio segments that you could use, or actually podcasts I did specifically for the worksheets that talks about kind of everything that we've talked about today. And it lays it all out in a very simple format. It is 100% free, no strings attached. Yes, you're going to be added to my email list. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. That's fine. But the bottom line is from there, you're going to get the opportunity to learn and basically just reinforce everything we've heard today.
That's great. And yeah, we're going to have a link right below here with a link to that free gift.
Yeah, use that link right down there. Yeah.
Yeah, that this one.
Right.
So Awesome. I'm totally gonna opt in on that because I totally want to look at that. That's
Awesome,
great.
dude.
Thank you so
You're
much for
welcome.
sharing that and providing that for us. So thank you so much, Brian. It was amazing having you on here and providing our incredible viewers with some amazing content and tools and advice for their online business.
Cool, man. Well, it was a pleasure being here. And the end result of all of this is, follow both of us. I mean, follow you, follow what you're doing. Jump online, go to, just search Brian Basilico. The spelling is probably right down there. You'll find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Bacon Podcast, all that stuff. And that way you can follow along with the things that I'm doing to continue to learn. So I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, Charlie, and your audience. And this has been just a blast. Thank you so much.
Awesome. It's totally been my pleasure, and I hope to do it again sometime for sure. For all of you watching, please come back again tomorrow for another awesome interview just like this one with an equally powerful online business expert. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.